Hi, everyone. Welcome to Freebird Spirit YouTube channel. Thanks for swinging by and hanging out with Ness and I for a little bit as we look into what does August hold for you. We're doing some predictions, but a big part of this is the astrology part, which will blew my mind. So come along for the adventure today. This is going to be interesting. So I'm Debbie.
Yes. I'm Ness. You might see me on YouTube in the chat and now in front of your screen.
Exactly. So, and yeah, you've been all over YouTube.
Yes, this community is so gracious. And they actually, a lot of them saw how well we've been having some fun here on this channel. Kevin, Chandler, other Linda, and Nate from Third Wish. They're also so gracious. And it's so funny because a lot of the times I'm bringing my same presentation to each of the shows, but everyone's having a different response to it because each reader is picking up on different energies. And so at first I was like, oh, it's the same. Will it be relevant? But no, it's actually because everyone has a different reaction to it. And so it's been pleasantly surprising to see how everyone's been responding to this.
It's like there's other parts of it that needs to come out. And so each person that you present it with will bring out what needs to come. So I love that.
And I love the dialogue. I'm not going to be someone who's probably going to ever have a channel. I like collaborating. I like working with other people. And I like seeing how we talk about this information as opposed to me by myself just sharing information.
Right.
I like the interplay. I like you get a hit and I get a hit on top of your hit. And then we just go build into what we start to feel into these.
Right. It makes it come alive. Yes. Yeah. I like it. And that's one thing you guys, Ness does help with astrology. If you're like me, I do not know the language whatsoever, but she helps bring it alive for you, whether you know the language or not. You have a great understanding when you walk away from a reading with Ness, that's for sure. Whether you know the language or not, it does not matter. She knows the language and she knows how to bring it alive for you personally. So just a little plug there, Ness, because
I know I'm very, very passionate about astrology, and I do believe people can learn it. But yes, there are some little ways you can start to bring on-ramp people on before it feels like such an opaque world to kind of understand. Should we go right into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Astrology. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know if I can share. Okay, I'm sharing. Perfect. Hi, everyone. We're back at it again. I think this is our third show now. We're now doing August. And some of you might have followed me on other shows where both, I think, Kevin and Nate and Linda have all been talking about some previews I've been saying about August astrology, and August astrology being pretty remarkable, especially when you compare July and August. August will really stand out in terms of the energies and such. It's almost like a big jump, kind of a big step up from August to from where July is. And I think September also has a bit of a step, but the difference between July and August will feel more substantial, where when we start to have more jumps in September, by relativity, it's not going to feel as intense, but September is also having some big stuff happening as well. And also for myself as an astrologer, I'm looking at more macro trends. Obviously when I'm saying some of this information, where your stuff is on your chart is going to be different, but the metaphor I want to give y'all in terms of how I'm going to approach astrology and how we both sort of approach the collective energies is almost like if you're in outer space and you're looking at Earth and you're like, whoa, what's happening there? Like that macro level, that's kind of the main point of view we're looking at. When obviously folks in their individual lives will have a different experience. Sometimes you can look out and see what's happening in the world, or sometimes you're just really inward in terms of your own kind of themes or priorities. So your own way of relating to the collective energies would be different. But for folks who are empaths and are really dialed into the collective energy, this is going to feel right at home in terms of how you relate to the world and how you feel things naturally.
And I do want to input there, and however you relate to the energies of all of this, all the astrology, and well, pretty much everything, it's perfect. You don't have to be like so-and-so or so-and-so. However you're doing it, it's perfect.
Yeah,
No
trust
doubt.
your own intuition on what's
Yeah.
working for you.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know how other people orient to because that can change how
Yeah.
you think about things. But at the end, yeah, you have to kind of return to home in terms of what feels right. So let's get into August astrology. For folks who are not joining us or joining us for the first time, this is our structure. We do a little bit of announcements in the beginning, then we go into the astrology, then we do the tarot version where Deb really drives that conversation with what the cards and what her energies are saying, and then we end on a game. We end on a building your own intuition, building your own psychicness game at the end. Which
An
is
interactive game, you guys.
yes,
So.
yeah, you're going to be able to play at home while you're doing this. Okay. So let's get into it. So just offerings, folks. I offer 2025 transit readings. That's my passionate, I think, honestly, that's why I'm on YouTube right now, is just to help everyone with these 2025 transit readings. And it's, folks, it's good news. 2025 transits readings are about which eras and timelines are you graduating and which new timelines are you entering. This is kind of like you're in high school and you're about to graduate high school. You're either going to go to college or enter the job market. That level of excitement of graduating in the sense of like the earth school and like what lessons you're learning. So if you haven't booked a reading or have a reading with me, I recommend finding an astrologer in your world to have this 2025 transit reading. I have done over 100 of these readings in the past 2 months because this is what I've been really pushing more with folks. And it's all been positive, such that I even had Linda G pull cards on it because I was like, why is it so positive? Am I being super rosy? What's going on? And she pulled the star, she pulled King of Swords and another positive card. She's like, no, it's actually just positive. This is just a positive part, which is sometimes hard for us to access sometimes when we're feeling that. And I'm also ending my promotional pricing. I was 888 for my first kind of christening on YouTube, and now I'm matching mid-level astrologers. And so for folks that were intuitive enough to grab me when it was 888, thank you for that. And the number 888 is very powerful. So for folks who want to kind of put price their homes with the number 8, I recommend it. You'll be surprised by the overwhelming response from folks when they're drawn to that number 8. And then Deb, you have some classes also coming up too, right? With
I do, and so sorry, I wanted to get that up.
Oh, thank you. Oh, great. Little banner.
Little banner. So yes, there's some classes. Kevin Lewis, you might know him as the healing medium. He and I are going to be offering classes coming up, and we are so excited. We'll be offering a more, if you're like, I feel like I'm intuitive. I feel like I have some psychic things that happen to me, but I want to learn more about that and what, how I fit into that and how I can really start to be intentional myself about using my abilities. We have a beginner class that we will be offering psychic intuition class. We also have a more beginning mediumship class that we're going to be offering. We also have an more intermediate mediumship class that we'll be offering, and also an advanced one. We also are going to be, and we're both so excited about this one, a forensic mediumship, a forensic psychic mediumship class as well. We also are offering for those who have had our classes, and you don't have to necessarily have had our classes, but you know who you are. Yes. We're going to be offering an advanced, a more intermediate advanced circle, where it's not, we'll be doing a lot of interactive activities and hands-on type stuff, as well as some teaching, but it's more for experience and doing the things. So we'll be doing that circle as well. So some will be in like in few weeks order or whatever, and some will be just like a weekend workshop. So, but Kevin and I will be on what day is tomorrow? Tuesday.
Okay, Tuesday, tomorrow.
Tuesday, yeah, but the date would be Tuesday the 29th.
Yes.
So whenever you're watching this, it will be a live show. We are going to be doing some readings and also talking about the classes, the dates, and all the things. at the same time.
Very
So,
cool. You're kind of starting up your fall semester in terms of
there you go. I like
the
that.
fall semester is opening up for school. And I know both of you have trained also at that famous, I call it the Hogwarts School in London, but it's that 180-year-old school that I think even Charles Darwin visited or something. Like all the old great thinkers were tinkered and explored that school. So
the Arthur Findlay College in London. In fact, we're doing that again this year in October.
Good. I love it when you both come back from that class. You often test things with your curriculum. You're like, oh, I just learned this, so students are going to try this. And like, very cool. So,
adding it, handing on what we've learned. Yeah, for sure.
And I also have room in my manifestation course, but I'm actually going to talk about it as we talk about the Lionsgate energies, because it's really, really powerful. Lionsgate this year, almost like no other. I feel like the Lionsgate this year will probably be one of the most remarkables in the previous years and also the years to come. So when we talk about that astrology and packet, we'll talk about possibly how you could use that Lionsgate energy to possibly attend the class and look at that. So first, we're going to go backwards. We're going to talk about July because some key things happened in terms of what we were talking about. So the first thing with July was about Uranus entering Gemini. So I'm going to zoom in for folks who want to see this. And for folks who are not familiar with this little image, I'm going to be referring to it. It basically shows where the planets were for the month. So this is the month of July. So this little wedge, all the planets move counterclockwise. Sorry, I'm not trying to give you all vertigo. All the planets move counterclockwise. And so they start here and they kind of end here. That's kind of the path of all of it. And so for the month of July, we saw that Uranus entered Gemini. But while it did that, we saw that it was Venus was there at the same time. So in a weird way, Venus was sort of protecting the collective from the full effects of Uranus being in Gemini. And also we know someone who's famous, our famous Gemini person that we talk a lot about on YouTube, Trump. He had Uranus enter Gemini. And I looked at this back in this interpretation. I honestly feel this Venus here is Bondi. Pam Bondi is the Venus that's sort of blocking him. And Venus will move out of Gemini very soon. I believe it's the 30th. So in about 2 days. So I expect when that happens, Bondi might possibly leave the White House, or she might be changing her tune. So folks, watch out for that. That's a prediction that would possibly happen in the next 2 days. And also with this, when Uranus entered Gemini on July 7th, that's also when we started to see the Epstein files. That's when Pam Bondi announced the Epstein files. There is no list. And so this is the kind of another astrological interpretation of something we felt on the collective level. But when Venus moves on, it's going to be unprotected and Uranus is going to be all by itself. And so I really look for Bondi in terms of that particular aspect and what will kind of translate to for all of us. So I'm like, I don't mean to give you all vertigo at home. The other thing I wanted to talk about was I talked a lot about July 24th. That was a key date to watch out for. And that was because we had a new moon in Leo, but within a couple of hours of that new moon in Leo, it was trining Saturn and Neptune in Aries, fire sign to fire sign, a lot of energy. And then we also had a couple hours later, the sun, but the moon was nearby though, was opposite Pluto, and Pluto was in Aquarius. And so I want to talk about some things that happened in July, I feel is really connected to this, which is Pluto and Aquarius as a whole. And so we have Pluto and Aquarius being opposed by this Leo sun. And so there was a lot of predictions on possibly what that would be, but I want to speak a bit more confidently what I felt what that was in terms of my own intuition. And this is part science, part my own perspective, which is I want to talk about Pluto and Aquarius, which Pluto and Aquarius is about power of the people. It's like a bunch of people coming together and doing something that they cannot achieve separately. And it's very much horizontal. It's about, a bunch of people working together in that Aquarius type of energy, especially with new technologies like the internet or other ways of people coming together. And so that has a positive side in terms of making new laws and creating new things, but it also has a negative side, which has to do with like mob mentality and maybe passing a rumor very quickly. And so Trump himself is very powerful in using the darker side of Pluto and Aquarius, of like, he's kind of the king of conspiracy theory. If you think about him back when Obama was president, he was really powerful at using the birther lie to kind of control and influence folks. But his main vehicle for that was Fox News. It wasn't really the internet as much at the time. It was mostly the Fox News and using them to kind of perpetuate that and controlling that. But we're in a new era where Pluto and Aquarius is not Fox Fox News. Pluto in Aquarius is not legacy media. It is not linear media. And we're seeing him having difficulty here. This is this Leo sun opposing Pluto in Aquarius and having tension. And so I think his inability to kind of quash the Epstein thing and seeing all these Pluto in Aquarius podcasters, these folks that have been spreading information and working together and feeling like they've actually are solving something, very much like the Karen Reed keyboard warriors or any other kind of true crime keyboard warriors are able to put things together. We're seeing that he's not able to control. He could have done it if it was Fox News, but he's having difficulty with this Pluto in Aquarius media. And we're also seeing legacy media and linear media breaking down a lot. For example, I watch Colbert a lot. Debbie, we've talked about, you watch Colbert,
Yes,
and we
I
didn't
love
know they were
Colbert.
losing money, like kind of hand over a fist. But actually, legacy media as a whole is losing money. So, we'll put little
Right.
quote marks in terms of whether that was the reason.
Right.
But we're seeing that the legacy media and linear media is having this clash. Like Fox News is having a clash versus this other form of media, which is kind of how we all are connecting here of sharing things. And we're also seeing legacy media breakdown in terms of how they talk about Epstein. For example, some legacy media will not say entertain alternative things, reasons or theories that might have happened in terms of Epstein's death. I'm actually surprised by that. There's, legacy media will only say one particular narrative and they will not really say anything else. And if you do, they will kind of point fingers and call you a conspiracy theorist, like you're kind of like
they try to shame you into.
They try to shame you. It's quite. I've seen a lot of interviews recently. I think it was Christine Amanpour and other folks that were just trying to shut down. And I'm like, wow, that's the whole reason why you're kind of dying, is you're not entertaining other information. And so another interpretation of this Pluto in Aquarius is also comedy shows like Colbert. And so often, folks, if you had a private reading with me, I actually use comedy shows to talk about Pluto in Aquarius, which is you often watch these late night shows where it's one person coming out delivering joke after joke, which often synthesizes the news in a very every person for themselves kind of way. It's very Pluto in Aquarius. But what you're seeing is one person deliver the joke. So it's kind of like a Leo moment where someone's delivering the joke. But the joke is not created by the host. The joke is actually created by about a dozen writers that are kind of work in the morning, come together and come up with ideas. And these writers often have one or two leaders. So there's like some structure, but it's very horizontal. It's very linear. And it's really about who can create the best joke. It's very meritocracy. The newest person who was hired can come up with all the jokes of the night if they're the best. They don't, it's not about the most senior person. And so these jokes are created in a Pluto and Aquarius environment. And I find it so interesting that this Leo sun is opposing this Pluto Aquarius kind of a byproduct, both whether it's the Epstein conversation, but also Colbert. Colbert and the show and late night comedy shows are Pluto and Aquarius. These are a bunch of people that are synthesizing the news and almost punching up kind of, like in terms of what they represent. And so I thought it was interesting, the targeting of Colbert. I also love the creativity from all the other late night shows. I don't know if folks have been watching, but it's like Jimmy Kimmel's is hitting harder. Jimmy Fallon is very polite and he's very kind of like a Disney version of a late night show, but he's going harder. He's going a lot harder.
And you notice, it was just like it was like they offered them permission to, they're just like, you thought this was going to hurt us, but you just unleashed. We're going to say whatever we want to say. And also, bringing into that with that cartoon.
Yeah, the South Park, which actually happened on the 20th. It was released late 23rd, but we woke up on the 24th and we saw it. Yes,
exactly.
We saw it, which I really feel confident in claiming it, that it's connected to this
100%.
This particular transit. So I want to point out the Pluto Aquarius is both this how we process information and how we come together as people and process information, whether it's good or bad. And this Trump not being able to control this Pluto and Aquarius mentality. We're seeing this as an Achilles heel of his part, where he could do when he was on Fox News, but he's not going to be able to do it. So it's not just this Epstein thing we're seeing, but in future issues. So future topics, we're going to see that if he had tried to do the birther thing today, he kind of did with that whole Obama Russia thing. It's not working. It's not sticking. And so he's not skilled with this Pluto and Aquarius anti-legacy, anti-linear media type of thing. So folks who are watching us right now, you're part of the future. You're part of the movement. You're part of the force that's actually going to be his downfall, because he can't control this type of way of conversing and talking and sharing information. And the other thing I want to talk about this Pluto Aquarius, the last thing actually, has to do with Gaza. So we're talking more about an America stage and America and what we've noticed. But when you go to the world stage, you're noticing the Gaza, situation is very very unjust, very the photos. And we're also, I've watched a couple clips, and they talk about we're in an era of social media where we're recording a genocide in a way that we didn't have access to in other past events. And so that whole recording is a very Pluto and Aquarius. And so I think it's very, what you're going to see in August astrology, we're going to probably turn a corner with Gaza in terms of what's happening there. And so it's just interesting how that also sort of kind of came to a head around the 24th. And I also find it interesting, there's a duality of both Gaza and Epstein, because there are some conversations about Israel's involvement in both. And so I thought that's an interesting, there's like two sides of a similar experience, where we're talking about Epstein, which has, some conversations of whether he was an agent for Mossad or not. And then there's also this Gaza conflict. So I just think it's interesting timing that there's this, that they're basically having that experience in two different fronts. And so I also want to point that out, because it's not just a country Pluto and Aquarius, but it's also a global community of Pluto and Aquarius, and sort of how we respond to genocide. Yeah.
Respond to genocide. And also, we're getting another opportunity to respond to assaults, domestic violence against women, child abuse,
children. Yeah, we're having a conversation about the Epstein and the
that's opened the door too.
It's very much,
and you can see, like, I think it's Alabama where they found that under the house situation where they were holding children and selling them off, selling them.
We're becoming very awake about these issues.
This underbelly is being shown, and I feel like this is connected as well to this energy that you're talking about.
I totally agree. And with that, let's look at your retrospective, the tarot cards that you pulled for July. And I mean, we're always in the last weeks. We never have a reference in terms of being able to talk about it. But Venus will be going into Cancer. We'll be going into Cancer in about 2 days. So we'll have a sense of that week 5 for sure. So it does match with astrology, but we look at week 2, that's when he did the Epstein thing. And I think that's almost like a big part of his downfall. That's him. That's like Trump on the floor right there. He does love red and white too. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Yes.
That's him. And then we see all these like week 3, week 4. And I honestly feel week 4, and we've talked about this before we got on the call, was we felt week 4 was possibly the Ghislaine Maxwell thing, because that was a big bait and switch. And I know you talked about this on your show on Friday, but you don't go to the criminal who committed the crime and ask them how they commit the crime. Like that doesn't, especially when you have a bunch of witnesses to the crime, like it doesn't make any sense. And so I think that's a bit of the trickery, and I think it's quite out and open in terms of for everyone to see.
It's horrid.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to now move into August's energy. And so for folks, thank you for staying on. We're now in August. We got through all the earlier stuff. So August's energy is pretty wild. And I talked about this, where when you go from July to August, like August is a lot more intense. You're going to have a lot of high highs and a lot of trigger. It's almost like glimmers and triggers at the same time, where we're going to start with some triggers, and then we're going to have some glimmers. Glimmers are like nice things that help make us feel happy and soothe us. And then we're going to have some sort of creative brainstorming towards the end. That's kind of the overall shape for August. And so we first start with a lot of Mars activity. We're seeing a lot of stuff happening in Aries, and Mars is also having some interesting placements. So it's a lot of like action bias and a lot of restless energy, possibly some conflicts, possibly war activity that's happening early on. We're also having Mercury in Leo for all of August. And so Mercury was retrograde in Leo. It's basically going to finish its retrograde. It's going to, you can kind of see it here. It's going to finish its retrograde and it's going to move on, but it's going to exit its shadow. And so we'll still have more Mercury and Leo. And that's important too, because Mercury and Leo is loosely opposing Pluto. So there's some sort of transformation that's happening for all of us with this particular Mercury retrograde, but with opposing Pluto. There's some sort of thing we're changing, evolving, graduating from. And then we have one of the happiest days all year, which is Venus will conjunct Jupiter, August 11th. It's really positive. We're going to be talking about that. And then we're also just setting the stage for eclipse season. So we're going to have the 2 eclipses all in September. They're going to be in Virgo and Pisces, so folks can remember what area of their chart that is. For W and I, that's our health and spirituality area, our 6th and 12th house. And then I also want to give folks just something nice to look forward to. I peeked ahead to see some positive, what's happening, and I just saw this thing that was happening August 12th to November 26th. We're going to have some very positive astrology where Venus will move into Libra, and it's going to trine Uranus and Pluto. So these are a good time for relationships, feeling like things are changing. So if folks want to maybe try to find a best time to plan a vacation, I do recommend within this time of October 12th and November 26th, things will at a collective level will be a bit more mellower than what we see in August and September. So something nice to kind of look forward to.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, exactly. Let's unpack August as a whole. There are no official federal holidays in August. I know we both usually start with that, so there's nothing for us to start with here. But the key
you're welcome to make my birthday an official holiday.
What is it, August?
August 19th. And
August 19th, yes.
Nothing happening on that day.
Nothing is happening astrologically. And for folks, this is not all the astrological dates in August as a whole, but these are just the key ones I thought that were important. And so let me drill it even further. These are the 2 periods that are going to be the most noteworthy in terms of, if you look at the overall energies of August, these are the ones that are going to be more difficult, or just a lot of change that's associated with that. So we're going to first address the one that's going to happen on the 8th and the 9th of this month, and then we're going to swing over and look at the ones that are going to happen on the 25th and the 26th. The 8th and the 9th is the big one. That's the big blockbuster that I want all of us to focus on. Okay. And then we're going to do, sorry, I'm clicking on something. Here we go. And then we're going to talk about the lunar energies, the new moon and the full moon briefly. And then we're going to end on the Venus conjunct Jupiter. That's going to be very positive for all of us. But the one that happens on the 8th and the 9th is the biggest one to kind of pull everyone's attention. I'm going to also represent that. I'm going to kind of collapse what happens on the 8th and the 9th all at once. I know they're distinct things that happen first and then another conjunction. But for the purposes of like framing the conversation, I'm going to just smash it together so we can understand the energies of these 2 days and what's sort of changing for us. So the first thing is, it's pretty intense. It's a pretty intense because there's a lot of Mars activity. There's a lot of Aries and Mars, and Mars, is rules Aries. So there's a lot of Mars, Aries energy, possibly conflicts, possibly broken alliances, and also war. There could be some sort of war situation. We could see some flare up with the Ukraine and Russia war. We could see a flare up possibly with Iran and Israel, or we could see something else spring up from another place that we didn't expect. But this is more war than I would say like terrorism or attacks. I would say this is more like formal war is kind of what we're seeing. It also could be like riots and kind of fighting against something. So this could be something we're seeing both locally, like when we had ICE stuff happen in, I think it was June, here in LA. So we might start to see some sort of activism that feels a bit combat-like, where people are sort of fighting back. And a lot of it is because Mars intense. Yes, a lot more intense, feels war, invoking your inner warrior. Mars is moving into Libra, Mars moving to Libra is going to be more a lot of energy and passion and advocacy in your inner warrior for fighting for justice, fighting for fairness, fighting for the underdog. And so there's going to be a lot of energy towards that, especially that we can see here in America in terms of what we see as the underdog and what we see as unfair. And then also you're going to notice we have the full moon happen the next day in Aquarius. So it's a lot of energy because full moons bring things to a head to be released. And we're going to have it in Aquarius, which is about community social groups. So there's something about a bunch of people or groups kind of coming together. Let's unpack this further. So let's go into just I call it loosely on the 8th, but this is all happening also on the Lionsgate, folks. So this is, when I drew this, I looked at all the planets and I drew this, and it basically took my breath away. I was like, what? This this is the astrology for the 8th and the 9th. So, like, this is the most intense day. And then after I drew this, I was like drawing, and it took me like about 30 minutes later to realize, oh, that's happening on the Lion's Gate. Like, I was like, and then I was like, oh my gosh, it took my breath. I couldn't, like, I'm like, oh my. And it's so
And
funny.
I like how you just wrote, a lot is going on.
It's going, because I just couldn't, how do I even articulate? It took my breath away. A lot is going on. And we're going to unpack it further. So let's talk about the first thing that's sort of, oops, I keep hitting something. There we go. So let's talk about the first thing, which is the adversarial type of stuff. So it's going to be what's depicted in yellow and what's depicted in green. So we're going to cover the adversarial thing. So first, we're looking at Mars. That's right here. Mars in Libra. It's moving into Libra. It was in Virgo, but now it's going to move into Libra. And it's opposing Saturn and Neptune. And so Saturn and Neptune are retrograding. They're both here. And they're going backwards, and they're kind of together working on a project, because they're kind of holding hands and they're just working on a project. Neptune is very visionary. Saturn is like, let's make a plan. And so together they're working on a project. And then Mars in Libra is having a lot of energy to kind of fight for justice, fight for what's fair, fight what's right. There's like fighting for the underdog. And so they're kind of, Mars in Libra, when it's kind of fighting for something, it's going to hit resistance. It's going to hit a wall. So this could be something like corporate culture. This could be like maybe Gaza, like maybe, they're trying to fight or change Gaza, and it's like, they can't. There's something about like the hands being tied, or it's kind of like going up a mountain. There's something where we're going to feel this energy to do something, and we're going to try to do something, whether it's email our folks or email, but we're going to almost like go up against a wall. And this could be like oligarchy energy too, like the sense of like, we're going at, but we're very motivated, but it's like going up against a wall. There's something really difficult here. And so with Mars and Libra, and with Saturn and Neptune, and this is Saturn and Neptune's in Aries, so this is a lot of fire. But Aries and Libra, there's like relationships. There's something possible with like relationships breaking, or alliances breaking. There could be some disagreements. There could be divorces. There could be, like friendships breaking during this time in an individual level. There could also be fires and accidents. I want to warn folks about just wildfires, and just in general, there could be a lot of that energy, because it's a lot of fire energy as a whole. You could also feel restlessness, where you feel like you have to do something. And so you might get involved in something because you feel like you're helping someone, but then it gets worse. So just be aware, there's a tendency to have like an action bias right now, to kind of go in and get help, and then it might be premature for you to do that. So just be aware, folks, that, as you're going to feel more restless, but maybe just cool down a little bit. Maybe just like sleep on it, before you decide to run, because there could be something that looks different than what it is, or what you're going against could be bigger than what you think it is, and you could be more vulnerable than you just fighting this underdog, or what you perceive this vulnerable situation. We're also having this full moon in Aquarius. So you said the moon is over here. The sun is over here. So we're having a full moon at the same time ish, which means there's some sort of releasing that's happening. And there's also a semi square that's happening with the moon and Saturn and Neptune, as well as the sun and Mars. And a semi square isn't as intense as a square, but it's a little bit of irritation, a little bit of a kind of frustration, friction. So this is some interesting energies of like opposing and friction that's sort of happening during this time. And let me go to the next one. Oops, sorry, I keep clicking on this image. And then we're moving to more of the positive things that are happening, which is this grand trine that's happening with all of these planets. We have Uranus, we have Pluto, we have Mars, and they're doing this grand trine. And with Mars, there's like a lot of movement and action. And so we're going to see lots of new thinking and breakthroughs. So if we're going up against this energy, like, oh, we can't do it, it's hopeless, we're going to have new thinking and new thoughts. We're going to think, okay, if I can't go this way, how do I go this way? There's going to be a lot of new pathways, new solutions. It might not just be in this like political environment. We could see new solutions on creative problems, new solutions in your world. Like maybe you always thought about having a conflict with someone this way, and then you might have a breakthrough to go this way. There could be something really like, it's just new pathways, new thinking, new thoughts, thinking outside the box. We could see new ideas being conceived during this time that we'll see, they'll fruit later in terms of new solutions for technology, new medicine. There could be something really cool that sort of happens during this period. So for folks, if you've got some problem you're working on in your personal life, like some idea you're working for a business, or you're sort of stuck, use this period, use this Lionsgate portal period to kind of work with solutions, things that feel like you just keep hitting a wall. There's likely going to be some innovation that's sort of happening. And there's a loose kite. And Mercury isn't super doing a kite with all of this, but it's a loosely there.
I was wondering what that-
And Mercury's kind of with this position is the release valve. So there's a lot of energy that's going through here, and the Mercury creates a release valve, how it kind of gets out or expressed, because this is a lot of energy. And so there's something with Mercury, and it's in retrograde. So there's something with thinking back, reflecting, that's going to be allowing you to kind of move through the energy of this grand trend. Very powerful. Do you see this? And this is on the Lionsgate. On the Lionsgate. Are you kidding me? Like,
yeah, on the Lionsgate. And I threw cards for the Lionsgate.
Okay, let me show one more, and then we'll go to that.
No, I just feel like you just read all the cards.
Oh, I did. Did I really? And so when I drew this, folks, and I like literally, this is before I realized it was Lionsgate. I just put my hands up in the air. I'm like, oh my gosh, because look at this. 80% of all the planets are talking to each other loosely, like loosely. Look at this. They're all talking to mathematically, they're talking to each other. They're all talking to each other. They're just like coming together. They're sharing resources. They're talking to each other. They're posing. They're recognizing each other. There's not one that's kind of dangling out here. There is these two though. There's two, and these are the two that are out, which is the benefics, which makes this one possibly a bit more adversarial than another day of astrology we want to look out for. But if we look at these benefics, sorry, I keep having to zoom out because if I go down, okay, do this. There we go. They are within 3 degrees apart. So they're actually helping each other out. So the astrology of this particular day is so remarkable, where a lot of the planets are talking to each other, working each other, and the ones that are left out are the benefics, but they are talking to each other. So there's something really powerful about this particular Lionsgate that I want to segue to my course so we can talk about it a little bit. But if you can't join my course, I really recommend doing some sort of manifestation practice on this Lionsgate. This is going to be a Lionsgate like no other. And so for folks, I have some room still in both my AM and PM time slots for my manifestation course. It's about 2.5 hours. The AM one is 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Am I doing it right? Yeah, 8 a.m. Pacific time. And then I have one in the evening, which is 8 p.m. Pacific time, and I think 5 p.m. No, sorry, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and then 5 p.m. Pacific time. So folks, there's time for the spots for both. They're mostly full. There's just like a couple spots in each. But this is, I'm going to be doing a manifestation workshop, which is talking about manifestation tactics and the new and the full moons. And the manifestation tactics are part just regular neuroscience, which is not woo, just about how our brain visualizes goals, how we access our subconscious operating system, and just things you can just do for brain and limiting beliefs, generational beliefs, type of stuff. And then there's the woo side, which we explore about being very specific about your goals, being not specific, like exercises you can do. And so I'd love to have you in my class. I still have room for both. And if you don't join the class, do something on this Lionsgate. Write out an intention. Go book a session with a medium or a reader and ask them what to do for your site. There's something really, really powerful with this particular Lionsgate. And now I'm going to move on to, actually, let's do the cards you were saying, actually.
Just because we're there and you literally read them. Okay. So I'm going to just, I'm dropping them now.
Yeah.
Hold on, you guys. Let's do this for a second, and we'll bring that back up in a sec there. So it went like this. So we're looking at, this is the Lionsgate. This is like the 8th and 9th energy, right? So we have the Emperor, the Ace of Wands, and the Page of Swords. And I feel like, Ness, you described exactly this combination for that day. And you're seeing structure, you're seeing that control, that it could be somebody, it could just be an overall energy, but having new energy to it, new creative ways, direction to take this to. But then you have this guy coming in, that Page of Swords, and I felt like there was a layer there because you talked about
the trine.
The trine.
Yeah, the new information, new breakthroughs. And that's the Page of Swords, young. Yeah.
And so that breakthrough, but also stepping into that energy of, I need to do more. What am I going to do? But I want to encourage you all to be thoughtful, come from that solid base and structure that you hold, because there will be ways that you can take action or however, but be thoughtful for it But also that manifesting piece, I see that in here as well.
Yeah, the Ace of Wands in particular too. Very, it's like almost from God, right? That's usually the aces. You just get it from God.
And taking, but this is a full-on action card. And also it's like, you don't have to overthink this, as far as the manifesting. Don't overthink it. Just step into that energy. Just take action however that feels good to you. But take that action. I feel like
that's a Mars. Just do something. Just do something.
just
like
do something.
Just do something and see what happens for you.
Yeah. But I felt like the cards backed up everything that you said. So
I know, especially the Emperor and the Ace of Wands. That's like going against a system.
Yeah, going against that. That system, authority, and taking that action. So there's a lot happening just around that, and we're going to see. It might present itself like something happens that pushes you over. Like, okay, I can't sit back anymore and allow. I have to do something.
Yes.
It might feel like that.
Yeah. Mars and Libra is very much like that, especially with the other conjunction. So folks, this is a really, if you've never been involved in a Lionsgate activity, just Google it. Talk to ChatGPT.
Google, do whatever, do the thing.
Yeah, this is a year to not be on the sidelines in terms of this astrological transit. Okay, so we're now going to go into the next major day, which is the August 24th and 25th. Let me go back to the little calendar so you can see this. So that's this one here. This is the second most intense period for the month. And looking at that, apologize, folks, I don't mean to give you vertigo. There's a lot going on. It's kind of like my way of describing this. So this is at a macro level, and I kind of smashed the 24th and the 25th together. And, some astrologers will look at things separately. I just think for the purposes of the conversation I want us to have, I want to smash it together. So you get a sense of the energies that are associated and the ones that are involved. But in terms of, does this actually happen on a particular moment in time? No, I'm smashing the kind of astrology that's happening over kind of 36 hours. And so on this particular day, we're seeing a couple things. We're seeing Venus opposite Pluto, which is about, Venus's relationships, money, harmony, women too. And Pluto is about transformation, power, abuse. We're seeing something that's a very strong flavor. That's sort of kind of a note that's really happening with this kind of combination. We're also seeing something called a cradle, which I'm going to point out, which is this little shape here.
Oh, yeah.
We're seeing this like trine to sextiles that are happening. And it has a particular role in astrology and how to use it. And so we're seeing this. I'll explain that and what it means for it to happen on this side of the chart in particular too. If this was happening up here and it was like facing down, it would mean something else. If it was happening on this side, it would mean something else, but it means something specific about what happens here and the planets that are sort of involved. We're also seeing Sun squaring Uranus. So I'm going to talk about that. And then we're also seeing Mercury semi-square Mars. So this is a lot of interesting energy. Not as like where the Lionsgate-ish one was like all the planets were involved. There's some, that are kind of left behind-ish, where I think the Mercury semi-square isn't as strong, and then Jupiter's really not sort of involved. But there are some stronger things. This particular date, August 24th, 25th, feels a bit more benefic. It's a lot more, you can feel like things are more moving towards a positive direction, where the first one that we talked about is more, it can be more tough love and tougher change, where this one is a bit gentler, like winds are in your sails type of thing, in terms of the energies that are associated with it. So let's talk about the first one with or the adversarial components, which is Venus being opposite Pluto. And this is going to be about, relationship struggles, endings, transformations. You could see possibly marriages ending on this particular day, or relationships are having a hiccup. This could be where people are going to go to therapy for the first time in their relationship. It's a big transformation that's sort of being invited for us as Venus moves into Leo. This is going to be one of the first experiences that we're going to be having at that collective level. We're also seeing the Sun square Uranus. So that's kind of like breaking with tradition, ego battles, outbursts. Sun is also in Virgo, which is focusing on the details, routines, rituals, and then Uranus is in Gemini. So there's something about like new thinking, new thoughts, but it's also breaking with it. So there could be something of breaking of perfectionist attitudes or just wanting to change things up, that you feel things are too stagnant. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of trips to Goodwill that happens during this time, or changes in health routines or other things that are sort of happening, because there's just some sort of, the energies between both want to just like change things up. And then we're also seeing Mercury semi-square Mars. So semi-squares are just a little bit irritation. They're not super intense, but we're seeing Mercury sort of exit its shadow period and it's going forward. And so there's some sort of Mercury, which is about like leadership, showmanship, wanting to express itself. And then it's semi-squaring Mars and Libra. There's something about individuals trying to express themselves versus like what's better for relationships, what's better for like the greater good. That's sort of happening. So I wouldn't be surprised, actually, as I'm looking, this could be something where Trump sort of has an outburst in this moment. He maybe poorly expresses himself. Has a gaffe, or he posts a meme that's very much in bad taste, which I shouldn't, should not be surprising, but I wonder if it goes even more extreme. I wouldn't be surprised if this was him.
How can you be more extreme than he's?
I know. As I said that, I feel I had that whole same narration in my head. But there could potentially be something related to that. And so let's look at this. We're seeing a lot of trines and sextiles loosely, but I want to talk about this cradle. So this is what is called a cradle. And as you move along with your astrology journey, you'll be aware of some of these things, like the kite, the grand trine, the cradle. And so the cradle, from how I am oriented towards it, it's basically, these are the main characters, which is this like Pluto and Venus. This is the main characters. And these are just all supporting characters and trying to help out this energy. So this energy is opposing. This is like it's Venus opposing Pluto, but these are actually helping think creatively and differently. So there's like this interesting creative transformation that's happening with Venus opposing Pluto. And I also think about Venus opposing Pluto almost like the women with the Epstein thing, like, the vulnerable people that are like the relationships and about power dynamics. And so as we talked about that kind of hitting a wall and this oligarchy energy that we could possibly hit the beginning of the month, there could be some new breakthroughs that are sort of happening here, like new ways of going around it, because you're having help with Uranus, which is thinking outside the box, almost like genius level energy, kind of surprises. And then we also have this Saturn and Neptune, and they're together holding hands, working on a project. They're helping each other out, and so bringing each other up in terms of focusing and working on this larger project that's kind of in Aries. And so this is a very positive transformational period for everyone, and also for the collective. There's something where this isn't as bad because these are also working out what's happening. And that's just a cradle objectively, regardless of where it is, like in this chart. It's actually also on the left-hand side of the wheel, which traditionally means an individual. The right-hand side tends to mean about other people, but the left-hand side of the wheel talks about more about the individual and the individual experience. And so for folks collectively, they're going to experience this more individually, like it's about a transformation, a change that's going to happen on you on an individual level, like an awakening that's sort of going to be happening. And the top hemisphere and the bottom hemisphere have to do with like spirituality and being more primitive and primal and like in the physical body. And so there's some sort of change that's sort of happening between both, where you're on an individual level, you're kind of going more spiritual or more having that greater awareness, that meta-ness, versus being like, I want to be fed. I want my physical needs to kind of be satisfied. There's some sort of change and transformation that's sort of happening with that. And with Pluto being up here too, there's some sort of force us to change and be more higher level, think much more about the consequences of our actions or consequences of thinking. There's some sort of elevation of thinking that's possibly happening with this cradle, and less about just wanting the more primitive, the human side of us.
Feels very collective conscious.
Yeah, it's going to be more of an individual experience. It's not like we're going to be doing it with other people or chit chatting.
Right now, but it's that connecting into a higher level thinking.
Very, very
awareness.
Very, yeah. And then we're also, this is exactly what I just said. Get creative breakthroughs, transformations. It's very positive. It can feel a little bit overwhelming, but comparison to Lionsgate, you're going to almost go feel like, oh, this is great. This was like a nice, you just took a kink out of my neck. Like it was just, it's a lot more positive than what I would say the first one is. And then we're going to lunar energies, which is the full moon in Aquarius and the new moon in Virgo. I would say the full moon in Aquarius is a bit more intense because it's part of this Lion's Gate type of energy, which full moons are about releasing, ending cycles, so you can kind of move on because you have to let something go, which is something about independent thinking towards humanity, working together, especially if there's something about hitting a wall that's going to happen. With this particular early transit, there could be some sort of letting go of how to approach it. Like, I can't keep going this way and assuming the same results. I need to go this other way. So there's something related to that and how we relate to community and how we have our independent thinking. And then this new moon that's going to happen in Virgo on the 22nd, it's very interesting because it's going to be a couple things. One, it's going to be very potent because it's the anaretic degree. I think it's like 0 degrees 29 minutes or something like that, very early on. And with new moons in Virgo, there's a focus on details, themes about health, medicine, labor, also more solitude, which is so interesting because a couple days later we had that cradle thing that's going to happen, which is about being on an individual level. So we're seeing kind of solitude, individual energy, both with the 22nd as well as the 24th and the 25th. And there's going to be a need for more organization in your life, more structure. And it also sets the stage for eclipse season because we're actually going to have 2 new moons in Virgo this year because of how things work out. We're having a new moon in Virgo, and then the new and full moon in September are both eclipses. So we're getting a little dose of eclipse season with this last new moon. And then now we're going to end on the best news of August. So again, I talked about how August is like high highs and low lows. So this is the high high, which is Jupiter and Venus are going to conjunct in Cancer. Very, very happy with this news. It's going to be very emotionally satisfying. There's high chance to meet partners or friendships. Just really relationships as a whole are going to feel really good during this time. A lot of financial success because both Venus often rules money and Jupiter's about expansiveness. So there's something about good news with money, or maybe it just feels, if you don't feel so scarcity mindset or feel so, you might spend a little bit more, treat yourself to a little bit of a dessert or something, or maybe the dessert's on sale that day.
I like that.
Give some of the universe. It just feels like you're taken care of because it's a Cancer type of placement. You're gonna have positive experiences with family or people that feel like family, just feeling nourished and in tune with each other and seen and heard. There's also possibly some good news about home or real estate. So if you're about to sell a house or you're struggling, there could be some good news that are associated with this day, or you might have some good insights around this particular day. And also, it's a great day to buy a lotto ticket. And for folks, when you buy a lotto ticket, you only buy one. And that's it. Because if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So I don't want to encourage folks to maybe go down a slippery slope, but this is a good day to buy a lotto ticket. And I know I will be buying it on the 11th too. Look at that, 8 and 11. I like those numbers.
Ooh.
Okay. And so that is the astrology for August. Do you want to go into your weekly tarot card poll?
Yes, let's do it, guys. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let me do this.
Oh, I did it.
Oh, you got it.
I did it. I finally did it.
Oh, yay. Okay. I can't even. Oh, there it is. All right, you guys. So the astrology, and I do one card per week, and it kind of just gives an overall general. But you'd be surprised what one card, the information one card can bring, as we've witnessed over the last couple months, right? With the cards that we've gotten, one card per week or whatever. So the weeks are broken down the 1st through the 9th, the 10th through the 16th, the 17th through the 23rd, and the 24th through the 31st. So that's how I broke it down. So we're looking at the first week of August.
Yes.
And we have the you guys can see that, right? So you have that.
We can see it. Yeah. And if you want to make yourself bigger and make me smaller, we can do that too.
No, we'll do that. How's that? Does that work? Okay. All right. So we have that 5 of Cups, and that it gives a feeling of regret and loss and some reckoning, looking back. It also gives like something mourning, something gone, any of those type of overall energies that this card brings, just in case you're learning tarot, that's what you'd be looking at. But we're looking at it a little bit more political global right now. So
Mhm.
this looks like a very sorrowful or disappointing start to the month, kind of globally and politically.
Yeah.
We may see some major setbacks or reaction to some more things that are more loss. Every day we wake up to 45 taking more things away or doing something,
Yeah.
who knows, right? However, this also could be something which is interesting. This could, if we bring Ghislaine situation into this, it
Mhm.
could be talking about a uh, a reversal of something,
Mhm, mhm. Which would
unfortunately,
create grief. Yeah.
like a judicial ruling, a reversal, um, something like that. We could come up with this card that first week. Um, it it could mean something disappointing to the Democrats. It's the progressive look at things. Tragedy, fallouts, the whole thing. So that's kind of a global feel to that.
Yeah.
But if you look at it at just the Trump angle, if you're looking at it just at the Trump angle, um, he may be having some fallout himself, something public, something uh, maybe a symbolic loss,
Yeah.
like losing ground, like, oh, I'm not the king or whatever.
Yeah, I even looked at the photo, it looked like Trump a little.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah.
Like even the shoulders, like it could be like him
Could
looking
be,
down,
yeah.
especially a younger Trump, you know?
Yeah.
Like the inner, because he, in theory, inside of him is a much younger Trump.
He may there may be some people who flip on him who are no longer uh, a Trumper or whatever. You might find some more of that, or some rulings don't go his way,
Mhm.
or the one I like the most when I look at this is possibility of an evidence leak, more
Mm.
evidence leaking out,
Mm.
and finding him more in a defensive
Yeah.
mode. Okay, so that's week
Fun.
one.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
I know. Wow.
And week one also, that includes the eight
Lionsgate?
the Lionsgate
Okay.
portal
So we're
energy.
looking at
Oh, yeah. So now we're looking at week 2.
and that
And
and that is the August 10th to August 16th.
correct.
Yep.
So this card right here would have that Lionsgate in it
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. So then we look at week 2 here with justice, right?
Mhm.
And I like this energy. It's accountability, it's
Mhm.
truth coming to light, it's legal matters.
Mhm.
So if you look at this in a political and global way,
Mhm.
um, this is a huge card for that
Yeah.
politically.
Yeah.
Uh, it's suggesting some major legal decisions
Yeah.
there. We could see um, just more national and global implications here with that card as well. Like you were talking, we're talking
The World
Israel, we're
Court or
talking about
something.
the
Yeah, I got the World Court vibe with that right away because it even reminds me of Roman, like Roman looking
yeah.
type of stuff, and it just made me think of World Court. And that week, astrology wise, we have the Venus conjunct Jupiter in Cancer, and Cancer is also about nurturing and taking care of the
Mhm.
vulnerable folks. With all these transits in Cancer, I think that's why the Epstein thing is such a different take, because there's something, it's children, you know,
Mhm.
where I think if Cancer was in a different position, it wasn't. So I think there's an action here that with your justice that feels really matching astrology.
Yes, and we may also see something where you have them. Uh, I think there's a committee that's going to be talking to Ghislaine
Oh,
and
that's
getting,
right. On the If they end up doing it, that's actually on the 11th too. That's on the same
yeah.
day.
So I'm
Wow, I did not
seeing
realize
that
that.
as well with this card.
If they end up going through it, because they could still end up
Yeah,
canceling.
yeah. If they end up going through it, I
Yeah,
I do see something possibility with
yeah.
that. All right. So then you have that Trump angle, and this to me screams legal consequences.
Yeah, I feel that too.
Some more ruling or something, some
Mhm.
legal shift that
Mhm.
hits close to home for him,
Mhm.
or his inner circle, or something that he's trying to push forward. So I do see that happening too. All right. So week 3, we have that death card in reverse. So I guess I have to back up here. Yeah. Yeah, right. So week 3 is the 17th through the 23rd. That's getting close to your 24th through the 26th feel there, but this is a little bit before that. And so we're seeing the energy here is that resistance showing itself. So, and then, so in that way, the resistance, we may see a little bit more of that taking place at that time. But also it shows, fear of endings, clinging to the old. So there's some of that layer to it as well. But let's look at it politically and global. Okay, so there may be some major, again, resistance to something that needs to end, like any of the wars that are happening right now, or also a leader that's clinging to power, that needs to end. An institution, you have institutions, or the institution fill, or the systemic junk that is refusing to evolve,
Yeah, yeah.
So that whole feel all around, we're going to feel like that feeling of need, that Page of Swords feeling, almost like we
Mhm.
need to take, this is just not right.
Yeah,
This system is not working.
yeah.
So we may see a lot of that happening.
And even for I'm with for folks who are newer with death reversed versus death upright, death reverse is like not a delay and a change. Like it's the change isn't there, but it feels like the change needs to be there. Is that accurate? Is that a
Yeah, that's
interpretation?
kind of the sense I'm getting. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's what I was getting to. Like
this needs to
clear,
end,
like something needs to end, something needs to change, but it's not. There,
but
it's
it's
not,
not.
and so it's pulling a lot of attention, especially with Gaza, because your first image has
Yeah.
like the desert. I could see that being Gaza. Like Trump is disappointed with how Gaza's going, or maybe how it's distracting away from him, and so it's almost like that third week could be a part of it too.
Exactly. Right. I also see so did I talk about Trump yet on this one? What I see for Trump in the death reverse here?
No, you haven't. Go for it.
Yeah, so it's just more of him, just
Mhm.
refusing to accept any legal outcomes, like you saw
Mhm.
the week before, that justice coming through, and he's like, no.
Mhm.
Um, but it also shows uh, signs of him unraveling,
Mhm. Mhm.
and resisting what is actually coming, which is the death. When you get the death in reverse, any card in reverse is always will flip over. So
Yeah.
it's still there, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. So just resisting the inevitable ending, his
Mhm.
inevitable ending, whatever
Mhm.
that means. All right. So week 4.
And week 4 for folks is August 17th to August 23rd.
So August 24th through the August 24th through the 31st, right?
Oh, is it? Oh, because you're collapsing it. No, I think it's August 17th to
Yes.
the 23rd. Oh wait, no, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. It's August 24th to the 30th because you combined week 1 is 1 to 9, and that's the 5 of cups. Week 2, which is justice, is the August 10th to the 16th, and then August 17th to the 23rd is the death reverse. I'm sorry, folks. I just made it all confusing. And then we're doing the last 4th week, which is August 24th to the 31st. Yes.
Correct. All right. So, and we're looking at the Page of Swords there.
Oh, wow,
And
Page of Swords again. Oh, goodness.
right,
Yeah.
Page of Swords. And so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Page of Swords is new information possibly coming out. We're going to see that week. People watching very closely everything. People standing up, taking action. But it also speaks to investigations and that new information. I already said new. I think that's all I can pull from but then we move into more of the global. I want to speak to the global. When you get the Page of Swords, I don't know about you, Ness, but I go right into whistleblowers or leaks or
I feel this new wave of something, new information,
so that makes
like a door, like almost like, I guess, like a whistle, like a whistle is air coming in or something. Like I feel that with this particular card. Yeah,
for sure. You have also, I think you're going to see more of the media. We talked about the media stuff. You're going to see some more of that coming out, like fighting back, so to speak, uprising. That
and even the Page of Swords feels like the new media. That's like the MAGA.
Yeah, well, I mean,
not MAGA, but like the podcasters and the bros. And like maybe they're going to push back a lot more. They already are, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do more than where they are now.
Right, and so you have, we spoke to the late night shows and
the comedy shows,
and those types of things.
Wow, yeah, they could really be pushing back.
They're going to be really pushing back.
Yes.
And like that, and it just feels like a week of more exposure of stuff, and the pulling more secrets out to reveal. So let's look at the Trump angle here. I'm getting that something's going to come out, something that was like you said, like that whistleblower feel. Something's coming out.
It almost feels like a bit of a blind spot too, because you can't really predict a Page of Swords because it's like the new thing that's emerging that you can't quite see, like it's especially if you're really stuck in the status quo. So it feels almost like outside the edges of his imagination with the Page of Swords there.
And I wouldn't be surprised if someone else decides to try to do the impeach Trump thing that week.
Yeah, exactly. Something he's not even kind of outside.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be JD Vance in that terms of that youngness or something.
That's true.
Thinking. I wonder if it gets squashed though. I don't. I know he had a fundraiser recently and he did really well, actually. JD Vance, which did really well at a fundraiser, which is almost like an oxymoron in terms of precedent. But so there is a bit of people testing the waters that's happening. So I wouldn't be surprised.
So overall, when I look at these cards, I just see and Ness said it as well. This is a roller coaster month. You're going to have whoop, and you're going to have boop, and you're going to have boop.
Yes.
But you're going to have truth. You're going to have people trying to cover up the truth and narrow. They're going to try to narrow it the way they want or whatever. But in the end, I do feel like this new energy coming forward. They're like, okay, you effers don't know how to take care of this. We're coming in now. You know what I mean? Like that.
Especially with the eclipses in September, whatever's not resolved, the eclipses will come and clean it up. So it's an interesting thing because that with the death reversed, whatever's not dying, goodness gracious, I hope Epstein doesn't go all the way to the end of the Epstein files, doesn't go all the way to the end of August, but who knows? But I feel like the eclipse season will clean it out. Eclipse season will clean it out, and we'll be able to focus on other things instead of the same narration or same storyline that's sort of hitting us.
And just a real quick, and I know I'm done with that, but I didn't share the cards that I threw for Pam Bondi.
Oh yeah. We talked about it earlier that Venus is in Gemini, but when Venus moves out of Gemini into Cancer, that's likely going to be Pam Bondi, and she possibly could leave this week or very soon after. Yeah.
And she got the 5 of Cups, the 3 of Wands, and looking at a different direction.
Okay, so someone's maybe giving her money in a different way.
Or
she's
or
offer, like maybe they buy her to get out. I don't know what the
they
word
do.
term is, like a severance to kind of like take
Something
the
like
fall, just
that,
move
like,
out.
take the
Yeah.
fall and move.
Yeah,
Take the
take them
fall,
all.
here's some cash, move on.
And the Three of Swords makes me think of like how Kimberly Guthrie, she exited her partnership with one of the Trump children by getting ambassador to Greece or something. There's something about that
Oh,
that reminds me of
right.
that, like the Three of
Oh,
Wands with
yeah.
the Ace of Pentacles, like they almost
Yeah,
like give her a better offer somewhere else.
exactly.
And maybe she sort of takes the fall, but then she gets a better offer. There's something about maybe she falls on her.
Right, or she's like, I'm super disappointed in how this goes. I
Yeah.
need to get out, so how can I do this? And she finds a new
I
offer or
feel
whatever.
she's like a little like she's almost like crashing. Like I feel like she can't not because she's a woman. I just think it's a
Yeah.
lot for one person to have like all of it at once, especially with that her one underneath her, right? He saw the footage, the Dan I've heard nicknames of how to pronounce his name, but I don't know his actual name. But he had the podcast and he was now the deputy underneath her, and he
Okay.
said over the weekend he saw the content, it changed him. He's never going to be the same. So if she saw the content and she has to be out light, and then he saw it and he can't even handle it, then how could I feel like she's crashing inside. Like I feel
It's a
and then it
lot.
got leaked that she already told Trump. I think there's just, yeah, I feel like she's just, some people can handle lying a lot. And I think some people can't. I think they reach a breaking point. And I feel
Yeah.
like she has that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
interesting. Yeah, and I
Okay.
feel okay, go ahead.
I was gonna
I
say,
think
well, okay, we
right?
if you have more thoughts about August, we could go to the game.
Oh, yeah, we got
Yes.
we got the game.
We've got the game. So thank you folks
Yeah,
for staying on to the end.
yeah.
We're going to be doing game, which is very much in the vein of Deb and Kevin's classes in terms of all the practice games that we play. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something different. Deb, do you want to do a tarot card and I can do a number? And so folks will
Oh,
guess
perfect.
the tarot card. And then folks, I'm going to write a number between 1 and 100. I know this sounds a little bit weird because it's a bit, but I'll write a number between 1 and 100. And we'll play Deb's first. So folks, she's gonna pull a tarot card, and she'll hold it up, and she's already doing it, and you'll guess. And for folks that are playing this, just feel into the energies of it. What colors do you think it is? Just first thoughts. Don't fight it. Don't over.
Yeah, whatever comes to you naturally, just the first thing, whether it's colors, whether it's whatever, any symbols, anything like that, or just what card it may be. However you feel like you want to tap into that energy, but go ahead and take a look.
Yeah. And feel
Take a
free to
breath.
pause the video and just feel into it. Take 2 breaths, write things down, and then resume the video too if you want to.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
So do you want to do
And
your
then,
number and then we'll show it at the end?
now before you reveal yours, actually go ahead and reveal yours and we'll play the mic right afterwards. I'm big. Yeah.
And here's the card.
Ooh.
Page of Pentacles. So lots of yellow. If anybody got yellow,
Yeah.
but it also has reds and greens and blue.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go.
Very nice scenery.
Good job, you guys.
Yes. Okay, and then I wrote a number between 1 and 100 on a note card. So folks, take a moment. Just write down any numbers you see. Just feel into it. We just wanted some variety to kind of change up this game. And for folks, when they do this, there's this, especially when you do the class with Deb and Kevin, they do so many rapid. Like I think we did 12 different objects hidden in a box exercise, and we did them so rapidly that if you just do them one at a time, you're going to put a lot of pressure on one game and to try to get it. But when you do so many and you've got 3 out of 12 right, and you got the details, and so you build more of that confidence that you can do this versus just doing it once or twice. So I recommend the classes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share it now. And so folks, pause the video if you don't want to see the number. Okay, I'm going to share it. 78.
78.
Yes. So folks that got an 8 or a 7 or something similar, I would count that as success as well. Awesome. Well, that was our August predictions. Let me go back to the screen to share the last bit of today. So yeah, if you want to book a session, both with myself or Deb, we have our emails. I am fully booked, but I'm going to be opening October and September bookings very soon. likely within the next few days. So if you email me, you're part of my newsletter, you'll have that. And then Deb tomorrow is going to be on YouTube, and she'll be announcing her whole fall curriculum. So all the fall classes will be announced. So folks can look at that. And honestly, folks, I've done a lot of private readings with y'all, and the amount of psychic indicators I see in people's charts is like, if I got a nickel every time it happened, I probably had $50 by now. So it's like, yeah. So you'll will be surprised until you actually take the leap and take one of these classes and go, oh wow, how did I know that? And then you start to play with that and fine tune it as a muscle. So great.
Wonderful. Yay.
Okay, with that, I think that is the end. Well, thank you, Deb, for hosting me again.
Yes, thanks for coming on. You're so loved, and I just appreciate you coming on and hanging out, and it's such good information, and it really does prepare. It prepares us for the month, and how wonderful to have at least one more tool in our toolbox to make it through what we're going through.
Especially the peaks and valleys, to know, okay, this is going to be a peak, this is a valley, this is a peak. I think it just warms the appetite a bit, or just warms you up a bit. I think that's great. And especially when things are right. I'm often like texting you, you were right, you pulled on this card and this is what happened. I remember you did the King of Wands during the 12-day war, and I was like, how out of all 78 cards you pulled the war card? I'm like,
yeah.
So yeah. So
Spirit
thank you
is
for
amazing.
joining us. We appreciate it. We'll see you all next
love
month.
you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye. Boop. Oops. I got this. There we go.